we're going to talk about is prevention and resolution of physical risks, privacy and data protection, hacking, and scams. As far as credentials, I don't have any other than my hair hasn't turned white yet. Yeah, that's about it. I got a smartphone 5 years ago, and I just got a mobile device 1 year ago, an iPad. So I'm a little behind the curve as far as the youngest generation, but hopefully I know a little bit. So first topic, distracted cell phone use. This doesn't apply just to people driving. You can be distracted while walking as well, obviously. This is a picture from a video, and these bystanders, they just watched her fall in, and then they stood there and looked at her for a while. I don't know if she actually got help, but I think she's okay now. So there's the myth of multitasking. A lot of times we think we can do a lot of things at once when actually we can't, so we overestimate our ability to do these things, and one of those things is driving or walking while you're on your phone. That could be texting, or it could be talking, making a call, checking the weather, whatever. This got so bad in London with people walking into lampposts that they actually installed bumpers on the side. And they're nice and white, people still run into them. On a somber note, 25% of preventable deaths are from distracted driving. That's the third leading cause of death, I believe, behind heart failure and cancer in the U.S. So this is 3,000 people a year and 10% of the U.S. total. Oh, sorry, that's car fatalities. So of those car fatalities, 14% were involved with cell phone use. They believe this is underreported in the National Safety Council because states don't have the right things on their fatality forms to check distracted driving. So the number is quite likely much higher, and this is only fatalities, not including injuries. So here's the graph which shows all preventable deaths from 2000 to 2017. That yellow bar is motor vehicles. Yeah, it's pretty sad. So here's the tips: don't text and drive. There's apps available. You can put them on your phone. They won't work. They won't allow your phone to work when the car is in motion. You use this GPS tracking to tell when you're moving. It will let you call 911. There's also passenger mode, so you can turn it off if you're just riding along. This is by far the biggest deal when it comes to cell phone safety, because you may be injured financially, but you won't be killed by a hack or a data breach. So the main tip is, if it's that important, do it while you're not in motion. Okay, moving on, phone scams. There's a lot. This is just a small list. I'll give you a brief description of each one. The grandparent scam is somebody calls and they're in tears and they're like, I have a medical condition, or I need help, and I'm sorry you can't understand me. I've got a bad phone reception. I don't sound like your kid, but I swear I'm your grandkid. And so the caller's like, well, I don't want to take the risk of letting my grandkid out to dry. And so they'll send them money. The romance scam is you meet somebody online and say it's sort of a lonely, desperate person. They win your heart, and eventually they start asking for money. So this works a lot. And they'll never meet you in real life, but they will take your money. The IRS scam, this is pretty common. You might have actually had some calls for this yourself. You'll get a call from people claiming to be the IRS. They need your information, and you better send it to them or you're going to get audited, your taxes are going to be withheld, things like that. Social Security scam, the same issue. It's a desperate situation, your number's been compromised, we're going to shut it down, give it to somebody else unless you give us a whole bunch of information or money. The Google search scam targets business owners, so your search results bounce to the top of Google according to these people if you pay them a certain amount of money. Obviously they don't have that power. The debt relief scam is a little bit similar. people are in dire straits financially. They're approached by scammers who can solve their debt problems as long as they give them a certain amount of money up front, and then the problems are never solved. The tech support scam is sort of a combo scam, so something will appear on your computer or your phone and tell you to call this number. You call that number, you get bounced to somebody who seems like they're from Microsoft, seems like they're from a legitimate organization, when in fact they're not. And eventually they will acquire your information, money, if you allow them to. And then there's the one-ring scam. So somebody calls you, the phone rings once, they hang up, you're like, who is that? So you call them back. Turns out it's an international number being spoofed as a local dial. And so you end up paying long-distance fees if you're on a landline. And they get money from that transaction. So that's just a few of them.
So tell us what to do.
We'll get to that.
Oh.
All right. The prevalence of phone scams, well, the romance scam ended up with $143 million in losses last year, and the average person gave $2,600 to somebody they've never met. The grandparent scam, $41 million were lost. I mean, these things work, that's why people are doing them. The average over 70 grandparent lost $9,000. And you can tell people don't want to be bugged because the National Do Not Call Registry has 235 million registrations, which is about 2/3 of our present population. One sort of sad statistic is even though people are perpetrating this fraud, the FTC has put down $1.5 billion in judgments and only collected $121 million. So they don't have the power to collect a lot of times because the fraudsters will claim that they no longer have any assets, and so there's nothing to collect. This is just a little graph. You can see in blue is the IRS scam, how much money has been lost over time since 2014. And then in red is the Social Security scam. It's become a lot more popular recently. I suppose that's more orange. But it's netting them a lot of money. The average take for the scammers is higher than it is for the IRS scam.
What do they do with that one? With the Social Security?
I got a call, I actually got a call.
So did I.
Me too, yeah.
Just this week.
From
What did they
Social
say?
Security?
They said that I had been breached
Yeah.
and it was identity theft and they were calling just to verify my Social Security number. And I said, they said, so if you could give it your full name and Social Security number. I said, well, what do you have? And they were calling from New York and yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they want your tax return, basically. And they'll do it in January before you get around to it because we might procrastinate a little bit on that. So the scam works. It's often a robocall, like Neil said. Sometimes it's a spoofed number. Spoofed means it looks like a local number perhaps, but it's actually not a local call. They evoke the negative emotions, fear, panic, distress, and shame, so that you'll be tricked into doing something stupid or something without thinking about it. They offer a solution which provides benefit to them and no benefit to you. They can appear to be authentic, such as, oh, we're from Microsoft, here's our official logo, check this website out. Let me put you through to the call center, and it's some lady in the next room. And the way they acquire the money is non-traceable, non-refundable, non-recapturable. So prepaid credit cards, you'll purchase one of these and mail it to them, or simply take the PIN number on the back and they'll read it off and use that to make purchases. You're never going to get that money back. Same thing with cash. One scammer transferred cash inside of pages of magazines. I'll show a little video. This is right off the FTC website. It's a short example.
My name is Don Holmes. I live in Sun City West, Arizona. In this community, we're all seniors. After you move in here, even if you don't know anybody, you get to know other people you enjoy doing things with. I use a computer predominantly for email and to get the news. One day a thing pops up and kind of blocks the screen and says, You've got all kinds of viruses in your computer. The design of the pop-up had a Microsoft logo on the top, and they had a number. And I couldn't get rid of this thing on the screen. Turn the computer off, turn it back on, still there. So I called the number. They identified themselves as Microsoft. I had no feeling that there was anything wrong.
Tech support scams are real, and they're causing enormous consumer injury, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's just based on the FTC's own law enforcement work. Just like Mr. Holmes, a lot of people are getting pop-ups on their screens, and often they claim to be associated with a company such as Microsoft or Apple, giving them lots of credibility.
They told me they would clear what they considered to be malware in there. In order to clear it up, they needed to get into my computer and have my control of the computer turned over to them. So I gave them my password. They went in, the thing came off of the screen. When I went back to my computer the next day, I couldn't access my files.
You'd never let a stranger into your house. Don't let one into your computer. If you get a pop-up, don't click on a link. If you get a phone call from someone who says your computer's security is at risk, don't listen to them. Stop, take the time to talk to a friend, talk to a family member.
When this happened to me, I was a little bit embarrassed. I mean, I consider myself fairly alert, but I was targeted and I was scammed. I didn't really want to talk about this, but I realized that if I didn't talk about it, that if I didn't file the complaint with the Attorney General, that if I didn't file a complaint with the FTC, that I would have shrunk into myself. And by talking about it, by talking to all my friends, I began to realize that they also started talking, and they started indicating that they had experienced similar things. That kind of community, that kind of exposure, it's not an embarrassment, it's just something that happens when you're a senior. You have to talk about the other seniors. What I would suggest is contact the FTC. They have a website. You can fill out a complaint online. We can be empowered with your family, your friends, and other people within your community to try to put a stop, or at least protect ourselves from these kinds of scams.
Alright, this guy got scammed on his computer, but a lot of the principles are the same as far as phone scams. The same tactics used and the same types of resolutions. What I learned from that video is a lot of people are ashamed of it, so congratulations, you've all taken the first step. And I hope people will watch this online a little bit. Still connected? Hello? Okay. Alright, here's the steps to take to avoid victimhood for phone scams. Don't answer the callers you don't recognize. I know for a lot of people this is not an option because you might get a call from a doctor with an unrecognized number that you need to take. So you can skip that step. Second step, before you act, hang up or shut down the device. If you're feeling like this is a shady situation, it's okay to hang up. They can always call you back. You don't want to take any actions while you're distressed, so you need to be relaxed when you decide on this. You need to take time to think about their motive. Obviously a good idea, like the fellow in the video mentioned, to get a second opinion. Sorry, the lady mentioned that in the video. If you can, use a third party to verify the veracity of the claims. So say somebody says your social security number is compromised, maybe you can contact Social Security Administration phone number, send them an email, ask if this is true. Same thing with the IRS or any other website credentials you have. If they get to the point of asking for money or, well, yeah, that's a good sign that they are not legitimate. As well as the no face-to-face contact in the instance of the romance scam. The sense of urgency created. So the IRS contacts you with like, oh, you're $4,000 behind. They're not going to be that urgent. That's nothing to them. Okay, moving on to phone hacking. We talked about scams. Sometimes the hacking occurs. There's spyware and stalkerware, so people can put applications on your phone that will monitor email, text, audio, calls, video, and location data. This is often put on your phone by people that you know, so chances are low that you're leaving your phone around and somebody picks it up, logs in, and puts this on there. These are people that they know you, but they want to know you better. The second way malware gets on your phone is applications will install it without your knowledge. So you download, say, a crossword puzzle app, and you're like, oh, this is fun, but you can't see the code base, and there's malware in there, and it starts sending us information from your phone to a third party. Another way is deceptive browser add-ons. So you're browsing the internet, you go to a web page, it says, you need to install this add-on so that you can view our content. Do you know what the add-on does? If you don't, I would not install it. Same thing for applications off websites. You can click on a link on a website, like the lady in the video said, and run an executable on your computer, and that will install malware, which allows the bad actor to take control of your machine. This one's a little scary. The Internet of Things is the idea that everything is internet connected, from your doorbell to your microwave to your entire house to maybe even your remote control sofa someday. These devices need to have secure connections in order to, well, be secure, because they're communicating with the other devices in your house. And so this is a relatively new technology, and some things are not secure. So a hacker could gain access to your computer through your unsecured doorbell. Eavesdropping on Bluetooth. Bluetooth is a short-range wireless communicator, and we saw recently in the news that Apple earpieces, which used Bluetooth, were hackable, and that people could basically listen to whatever you were hearing inside your earpiece. Yeah, it's real scary. Another big thing on eavesdropping is public Wi-Fi. So anytime you sign into a Wi-Fi network that's not in your home, which has no password, there's a good chance that anybody can look at what you're doing online as far as communication. So best idea there is if you're in the coffee shop, the airport, girls or church, if you've never been here, you shouldn't trust it, even though you can, I promise. Don't check your bank account, don't enter login information, check the news, that's okay, but yeah, nothing sensitive. And so why do these people hack? They want money in most cases, except for the spyware and stalkerware. It's all about making cash. So they'll sell your information, your email password combos, to people who want to acquire control of your devices, or they would like access to premium accounts. I've seen cases where people will buy a list of 8,000 passwords and emails, and they'll say, hey, thanks for the deal, now I can go play Xbox for free. And it's like a $10 a month service, and they're willing to break the law for getting that for free. The other reason people hack is to sell botnets. Botnets perform denial of service attacks. What a botnet is it takes control of a computer's communications, and it sends repeated signals to a target computer or device. And when you have a botnet, you have thousands or millions of these devices. And so when you control them all at once and send that information from a million sources, the target can't handle it and it shuts down, which is why we've seen websites, say FBI.gov, they go out of business for a day a week because they're getting denial of service attacked by a botnet. And so you can rent this service or buy it, use it for a little while and kick somebody you don't like offline as long as you have their IP address. Yeah, it's a good way to get, I don't know, revenge for some reason. How do we prevent this? Like I said, be very cautious on public Wi-Fi networks. Don't download executables or applications on your phones from websites you don't trust. If you use the Apple Store and the Google Play Store for Android devices, each one of these stores has about 2 million applications for download. In general, they're curated pretty well so that you're not getting something terrible, but it's not a guarantee. They don't have enough manpower, or they won't allocate that manpower to make sure every app is 100% secure. Once again, if you're not sure, don't do it. Ask somebody who you think might know. Another smart idea is turn off your Bluetooth if you don't need it, and the same goes for location services on your cell phone. There's a lot of ways to prevent hacking. Big one is don't share your passwords and create unique passwords for each service that you log into. There's free password generators at passwordsgenerator.net. No password is totally random, but this will give you some pretty good ones. You want to keep your security patches up to date on your cell phone. For Apple, this is super easy. It tells you every single time, hey, there's a patch, you better download it, otherwise your phone's not going to work. For Android devices, especially older ones, it's not as easy or quick. So I'd be happy to tell you how to do it if you're not sure. This is a pretty probably unlikely to happen one. You've heard on commercials like, we're about to upgrade to the fastest 4G network, 5G network, blah, blah, blah. The older networks are the 2G and 3G, and those are less secure. Law enforcement has devices that can kick your communications down to a 2G and monitor you from there by impersonating a cell phone tower. And so if law enforcement has it, you can be sure the criminals have it too. So that was the recommendation, that you use a third-party voice and communications app like Signal. I can't recommend or not recommend this. I haven't used it myself, but it's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing with the older phones pre-2017, if you don't have encryption activated, it's a good idea. If somebody gets a hold of your phone and they if they get a hold of your phone, they can't just figure out the login and do that. If they get in there, it'll be scrambled and they won't know what they're looking at. These last few are sort of like, don't leave your phone lying around kind of things, because you might lose it or somebody can get into it before it turns off. Some phones show notifications. As soon as you get a text message, it'll write the content of the text on the screen, even though it's locked. You can turn that off if you don't want anybody looking at your text messages. And then super paranoid is clean your screen, take the fingerprints off of it. Moving on to data breaches. There's not a whole lot you can do about these. You've all heard about them 18,000 times. A large corporation, data been breached, been shared, been sold, and there's no way to get it back. So that can happen to smaller organizations too. It doesn't make the news. These organizations, say a website, a forum, you like cars, there's a car forum, you sign up, you put your email and your login, and it's the same password as your bank account. And so now they have your bank account if that car forum gets hacked. So the way that you can see whether you've been part of a data breach is going to haveibeenpwned.com. And you enter your email address, you see which breaches your email address is part of. And it's quite thorough. I'm on there, unfortunately. So if you're on there, and maybe even if you're not, you want to change your credentials and use a password manager to set up unique passwords for each of the websites and services that you use. Sorry, taking a picture.
Thank you.
That's data breaches. Moving on to privacy. We could spend 18 hours talking about privacy. It's such a complicated issue because it's not hashed out. Europe has taken steps to protect consumer privacy with the General Privacy Data Regulation, which went into effect earlier this year. The U.S. has a patchwork of regulations and a lot of non-existent regulations as far as consumer privacy protection and use by third parties, so we're still figuring it out. Some notable existing things, there's a compulsory fingerprint unlock law in some states, and in Florida, they actually went into a funeral parlor, pulled up the corpse's finger, pressed it on the phone, and used it to unlock the phone because the corpse was a suspect.
Oh, wow.
So that's happened. There's also databases that law enforcement uses in different states, not all states. The FBI can access some of these databases. These are facial databases of criminals, but also of people who had pictures taken for their driver's license. And so when the FBI submits a request for facial recognition, they receive a video of a person on a camera who's perpetrating a crime. They got their face and they're saying, let's try to match this face to a data set of pictures of known people. And so they access these databases of people's driver's license pictures. And this software is not fail-safe. It's not 100% accurate or even 90% accurate, as far as I know. So we probably shouldn't be using it quite yet. Privacy is also often compromised by the privacy policies on applications that you download to your phone that you never ever read. Sometimes they say right in there, yeah, we can use and sell your data to our affiliates and third parties. There's also applications that do this without telling you or without your permission. One example was an anime makeover app. So you take a picture of your face and you put it basically on top of a cartoon character. And millions of people downloaded this thing, and it was sending all this information about them to China. Like, that app doesn't need to know your location and your contacts in order to make a cartoon face for your selfies. Another disheartening example of child monitoring software was sort of stored on a public server by a semi-incompetent or, I can't think of the word, but incompetent company. So these are pictures of kids being monitored, and they're out there on a public server, and they're under 13, which is illegal, but it happened. The biggest sort of privacy compromise is the information about you, your online browsing behavior, your personal characteristics, your location being sold to advertising and tracking services and data brokers. A major player in this field is Google and its subsidiaries, also known as Alphabet. What is a data broker? I didn't know about this until recently. It's somebody who takes information from various databases and correlates it to a person, so it can be anonymized data that they figure out, oh, hey, it's this guy, and here's all these other things he did, and let's figure out how to sell this confluence of data from disparate databases to advertisers and marketers so that they can preemptively sell a product to this person before they even know that they want it. And that's why after you search for shoes or you buy shoes, you're going to see shoe ads for 3 months every time you go to a new website. The downside of this, even though it's allegedly just for consumer benefit, is that this technology can be breached, just like we've seen with Home Depot and Target and Yahoo. Another downside is even if it's anonymized, it can be correlated to Facebook by bad actors and other public information. So researchers took one data set of 1 million anonymized credit card transactions, which had no names attached, at 10,000 shops over 3 months, and if they knew 4 locations and dates of purchases, they could determine pretty much all the other purchases and dates for each person in the data set. So all they need to do is look at your Facebook feed and be like, oh, he bought bagels on Thursday 4 times. They know every other single purchase you made during the 3 months. Here's some tips to maintain your privacy. You want to read the fine print on privacy policies and don't use apps that harvest information you aren't willing to share. I admit that I never read the privacy policy, and I never will.
You're so, the print is so small.
Yeah, and it's 18 pages.
Right.
Stick to the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. There's app stores outside of these services, and I can't tell you whether or not they're legitimate, but I know that these do have some protections against plainly malicious software. Turn off location services. If you're signed into Google Maps and you've got your history turned on, it knows where you've been and it keeps track of where you've been. And you can look it up on a map of the United States and follow the line. See where you've been, Google knows. You can move to Europe. You can opt out of Google activity tracking, like that map stuff, and add personalization. It's a little bit of a process. I'll be happy to tell anybody how to do it. Yeah, AI reads your Gmail. In case you didn't know, there's all those auto responses that are pre-formulated. So you get an email, you haven't even read it, Gmail's read it, and it's giving you a set of responses you can click on.
Yeah.
Because typing is too much work.
Yeah.
And so how do you think they're training the AI? They need a very large data set, and they have it in the millions of trillions of billions of emails that people use. There are paid services to wipe your online profile. Never used one of these. I know they're available. I'm not sure how well they work. That would probably be a last-ditch effort sort of thing. You can, well, when you search using Google, even if you're in a private browsing mode, it knows what you search for. It's got cookies active, so there's a search engine called DuckDuckGo, which is supposedly doesn't save anything about you. I haven't tried that either. Not sure how well it works. Seems interesting. This will be a hard one for people to do. Yeah, social media is all about sharing yourself, and if you want your privacy to be maintained, you can't really share anything about yourself. So that's a balance each person has to strike on their own. As far as that facial recognition used by law enforcement, tell your elected representatives to go ahead and put that on the back burner if possible until the technology is proven in a public forum. So what happens if your privacy is violated, your information is shared? Like the lady in the video and the guy in the video said, file a complaint with the FTC. You can also complain to the App Store. Often they will remove the offending application if no complaints are received. You want to uninstall the application. If you need to, reset your phone, factory reset. Hopefully all your data is backed up on there, like your contacts and pictures and stuff. If not, you can get them off beforehand. Change your login credentials and, yeah, investigate that online profile wiping service. So in summary, if you only take one picture, here's the slide to take picture. Don't panic. Use strong passwords for each service. Don't use public Wi-Fi with sensitive information. Don't post that information to the social media. There's a saying that once it's on the internet, it's there forever. And the most number one important safety tip is keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel. So if you have any questions I can answer, please let me know. There's my info. Thank you very much. Time for Q&A.
I've got a couple of things.
Wow. stepson was visiting, and we went to Bell's or Beals, however you pronounce it, and he walked in the store with us. Although he did not buy anything, he did not share any of his information. He helped us carry our purchases out. And within 30 minutes, he was getting texts and emails from Bell's.
I would tack that up to location services being on,
So
so,
how do you stop that? How do you turn off your phone before you enter the
Settings.
store?
yeah,
Settings. You go into settings and turn off locations.
Okay.
yep,
Wow,
settings, location services.
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing.
And the other thing is that texting while driving is now illegal in Florida. You have about a 3 or 4 month grace period, but
Yeah, well, that was over, right?
yeah, it's a major, and it's now a major offense.
Yeah, now they.
But it hasn't stopped a lot of people. I mean, I drive to work in the morning and the sun's behind me, and I can easily see people in their cars, and they're doing this, you know? They're tailgating somebody looking at their phone. It happens.
But the police couldn't do anything before.
Yeah,
Now they can,
that's good.
yeah.
Except there's no police.
What about,
Except in homeless
you're
people.
reading an article, like a news article on the site, and it comes out that to continue reading this, you have to accept cookies. What is all cookies? What is on it? I don't accept it, but
Yeah, cookies store information about your browsing session. So you go back to the website later and say any settings you had saved are still on there. It also sends the cookies to the host, the website. And a lot of websites have like, you gotta use cookies or you can't view the site. And you have to click OK or you can't view it at all. So yeah, it's really a personal decision. If you click on more info, sometimes they'll tell you what information in particular is shared.
but they're getting it, if you click on cookies, they're getting information from you. Like if you're reading this article, they
Yeah.
know that they're passing it on to data people, whatever, data people.
That's a distinct possibility.
Is that what happens?
Not always, it depends on the website, but yeah, it can happen, yeah.
I apparently have the location thing on my phone, didn't know it was there, and a couple of months ago, my phone started telling me each morning when I would get in the car, you know, how long it'll take me to get to Rosary Church. Except on Friday mornings when it tells me how long it's going to take me to get to the Manatee Golf Club.
Know exactly where
It
you're
knows where you
going.
live.
It knows where I'm going before I ever go there, and boy, that's a little scary. So another thing that folks don't understand, these things in your house where you just talk to and ask the computer to do something, Alexa,
Yeah.
they can also listen.
Yep.
They're listening to every single thing we say. And the other day, I heard about a new microwave oven that you just speak to. You talk to the microwave instead of punching buttons. And the microwave then will speak to your new refrigerator, which also you can give it commands. But after a little while, the microwave will know to shut your refrigerator door and not allow you to open it because you've already had too much to eat that day. It's true, and you can already get the microwave, and the refrigerators will be ready within the year. That I saw that on the news. So
That's
We-
sponsored by McDonald's, that's.
so we need to be a little more careful about all this stuff. It's just amazing.
Well, they showed the baby monitors that were hacked by child porn people.
Right.
And, you know, that is, and they were talking to the baby. And the kid was, I guess it was maybe a toddler, and she was going into her room and saying, "Mommy, the monsters talk to me at night," you know, and the mom's thinking, well, just a little kid, you know, and she just needs to go to bed, and then I guess they have to go in there and hurt it, and I mean, that is really frightening. And, you know, you have these devices to keep your home secure, and then they're used to harm you.
Yeah.
Hey, man, what about these things?
You're safe with a flip phone.
Amazing. On a different, a little different, it's not security, but health. I see a lot of younger people talking to the phone on a speaker, walking rather than holding it up to their head. And just a day or two ago, there was an article about radiation through the cell phone and affecting heads, brains.
I can't confirm one way or another. My brother's a science teacher, and he says the amount of radiation coming out of a cell phone is so little compared to what you get just walking outside every day. He's not worried about it. That's my anecdotal evidence.
One thing, if you are at like the airport and you need to use a computer and you're talking personal data, just take your phone and make it a hotspot and then sign into your personal phone. You've got some protection there, okay? Instead of using the public systems.
There's another option is a virtual private network or a VPN in which all your data is encrypted to and from. There's free VPN services, can't think of a name off the top, but if you can figure out how to set it up, it's worth it, especially in public places.
What is this national do not call registry? Can you explain that?
Yeah, it doesn't work too well, but at least you're on the list.
Okay.
It's supposed to stop people from calling you. It stops legitimate telemarketers from calling you in most cases, but people who don't care about the law will call you anyway.
And that,
The securities SEC requires every one of us that are licensed by them to check that before I call your number. And if you're on that number, I cannot call you.
Where do you go to sign up for that then, if you want that service, the national do not call registry?
FTC.gov, I believe, will point you there eventually.
Or just go out and say, do not call list. Just type do not call list on the.
All right, I guess we can meet.
Sounds cool, thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.